Hello and welcome to Off the Page with me, Rebecca Lowe. I'm a host of the Talisman Spoken Word, which meets at Elysium, and in this show we are going to be showcasing some of the best spoken word and poetry talent from Swansea and across South Wales. Hello and welcome to a very special festive edition of Off the Page, Swan TV's celebration of spoken word and poetry from across Swansea and South Wales. I'm really excited to introduce to you today our special guests. We have Saoirse Anton. Saoirse is an Irish producer, writer and performer who's performed extensively in Ireland and the UK, including the Dublin Book Festival, Green Gathering, Big Love Festival and many others. She's been widely published and was commissioned by the NoFit State Circus to write for them and be their poet in residence. And she has a debut pamphlet, Confetti Catching, which is due for publication in December 2023. She's also a hula hoop expert and performs with the Sparklets Hula Hoop Troupe. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. So welcome, Saoirse.
Thank you.
Next up we have Felix Subway. He's a popular writer of off-the-wall poetry with a sort of surrealistic slant. I think that's fair to say, isn't it? And he's the leader of the Felix Subway Band, Swansea's premier psych folk outfit, who have been storming the festival circuit across this summer. So I'm looking forward to hearing about that. And finally we have Rosie Wood-Bevan. Rosie was born and brought up in the Midlands and has lived in Swansea for 20 years. She's a regular reader at the Talisman Poetry Open Mic, which I run at Elysium, among many others. She's been published by the Seventh Quarry in their magazine and was one of their Poets of the Month, as well as Red Poets magazines and many others. So I think we'd have a great time today. I'm really looking forward to talking poetry, talking Christmas, finding out our ambitions for the year to come, and sharing some time together. I'd like to kick off, if I may, with one of my own poems, and then I think I'll ask Saoirse to share some poetry with us as well. I'm going to kick off with a funny one, I think. This is from my kids' poetry book, Grandmasaurus, and it was inspired by a true story of my nephew who didn't want to play an angel in the Nativity because he thought that it was too girly. So it's called Nativity Angel. I'm going to be an angel in the Nativity play, going to carry a lightsaber to blast those baddies away. That silly old King Herod, he doesn't stand a chance when angry halo flashing with my armies I advance. I know just what you're thinking. Angels. That's girls' stuff, right? All fluffy wings and tinsel and dresses flowing white. Well, you're wrong, because I've read it. Gabriel was a boy with flaming wings and flashing sword to conquer and destroy. Mrs. Jones says I can have bare feet. Imagine that. Feet like a bear. Gonna grow my toenails just like claws and scratch them everywhere. Gonna scare the living daylights off those shepherds with their lambs. Gonna launch an angel missile and watch those bleaters scram. 'Cause I'm the leader of the pack, the chief archangel, me. Arch, like in arch villain, the great arch enemy. So hark, you herald angels, listen up and listen tight. I'm the heavenly avenger, and I'm spoiling for a fight. Thank you.
Great.
So, Saoirse,
Yes.
could you tell us a little bit about your poetry and maybe share a couple of your poems with
Yeah,
us?
absolutely. So I suppose I've been writing for quite some time now. I realise I haven't actually kept count, but quite a while. And I suppose I describe my poetry as kind of a process of gathering. I like being out and about and noticing things, and so yeah, when I'm out and about, I'll kind of collect thoughts and lines and images and even sometimes little objects. And then when I sit down to write, it's kind of a process of assembly. Graduated from doing Lego as a kid to putting colourful little bits together to make poems. And yes, I suppose I might read one that was from earlier this year, because along with that kind of sense of gathering, I think a sense of community is really central in my poetry. And obviously coming up to Christmas and everything, that's sort of the theme of the day. So this was a poem that I wrote when we were protesting in Cardiff at the planned cuts in library hours and the closure of St David's Hall and the Cardiff Story Museum, or the sale of St David's Hall and the closure of the Cardiff Story Museum. And so this is a poem I wrote for that, about libraries, which is serious magic for Christmas. I believe in the Dewey Decimal System, 398.2, fairy tales. But I have a story for you to rival Rapunzel, Hansel, Gretel, Snow White. All the better because it's true. If it were a fairy tale, I would now say, once upon a time, somewhere far away, but instead once upon a Saturday morning. Upon a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the doors to magical worlds were opening. They looked quite normal. You've probably walked past them, you might even have walked in. Because this story begins at the door of a library. Shiny new card clutched in paw, a small girl is about to discover it all. Stomping on confident little legs through this place she knows is hers, she reaches the desk. Almost taller than her, and tells the librarian, I love trains. They set off through the shelves in search of the numbers 388. But wait, the little girl spies old Mrs. Jones from up the road, sat at the computer learning to code. She waves hello and shows off her shiny new library card. And after asking several questions, surprisingly hard to answer, our little girl is back on track with her quest. Down shelves of poetry, history, geography they walk, until with a happy cheer the numbers 388 are spied. And happier still to see beside the shelf someone already leafing through pages. Our little girl introduces herself and finds that she is speaking to a train driver. Well, could her day get any better? Questions pour in a torrent, and in minutes she learns from her new friend what it is to be a refugee. And he tells her that this library is his safe and welcome place to be. Books stacked in small, eager arms, little girl and librarian return to the desk, with only small diversions to watch the knitting circle natter and to learn to say hello in French. Her books checked out, stamped and in hand, our little girl and her dad say goodbye. Until next week, when she will stomp on confident little legs through this place she knows is hers, until she reaches the desk, almost taller than her, and tells the librarian, I love fairy tales. And they will again explore the shelves for numbers 398.2.
Lovely. I love that.
Thank you.
It really evokes the kind of magic of libraries. I always think libraries are particularly magical places because you have all these voices of all these different people, some of them ghosts, and you can read, and all that knowledge, isn't it? It's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know if you two feel the same, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think just having kind of community spaces that are just open to everybody like you, it's one of the very few places left in our society where you can just walk in and spend time, and you don't have to spend money, and you don't have to, you don't have any criteria to be in other than to walk in the door and be.
Yes,
which is great.
That's true. Yes, because there are very few communal spaces, aren't there? I mean, even coffee shops, you have to kind of buy a coffee to justify your existence there.
Yeah.
So I really like that. Thank you. So how are you planning on spending Christmas?
I'm heading home over to Ireland, which I'm very excited for. So we've got myself and the immediate family are all gathering, and my grandmother's coming over, and it should be really nice. It should be quiet.
What part of Ireland are you from?
County Oíche, so right in the Midlands. In the proper stereotypical bogs and soft hills and everything. So
will you be going out walking and things like that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, lots of rambling about, and also looking forward to catching up with lots of friends who are also going to be all converging. We've all kind of scattered to the four winds over the last few years, so it's going to be nice to have everybody all back together. So yeah, there'll be lots of catching up, and then lots of hibernating.
Yeah, has to be, doesn't it?
Plan to spend a lot of it in an armchair with a mince pie.
What about you, Felix? What are you doing over Christmas?
No idea yet.
No?
Just sort of dotting about. Yeah, we have a Christmas gig on Elysium, Christmas Eve.
Oh, fantastic. That'll be good.
So jam before that. Our saxophone known player is going to be jamming with us soon a lot more. We've got our Christmas gigs coming up, Rebecca, with the dulcimer. Yeah, many a fire choir.
Busy time for you. Yes. And what about you, Rosie?
I shall be at home with the family. Yeah, I've got, as you know, 3 grown-up girls. They will be there for Christmas, and various partners popping in and out probably, and yeah, hopefully playing some board games and the usual.
Yes. Well, we always, our family, we're big on board games. We have a friend who visits who brings all his games with him. And I'm not very good at them though, because I get confused with all the rules. But
they can be a bonding thing, can't they?
They can be, but they can be the opposite if people get overly competitive.
It's like Monopoly.
That's game over.
I'm too much of a hippie for Monopoly.
I've got
a hotel, stay over. Don't worry about it. Loads of them. Christmas.
Yeah.
We'll get on their house, £15,000.
Monopoly's banned in our family ever since my mum knocked over the board one day.
Oh, no.
I had a really bad game. My dad gets a bit over competitive, so
we rarely manage to finish a game before one of us just goes, I'm really bored. It's such a long game.
Pictionary's good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're safe with that, aren't you?
Yeah. Trivial Pursuit's our go-to in our house.
We've got Alice in Wonderland jigsaw, a massive one with millions of pieces. We started it last Christmas. It's still sitting on a board on the floor and it needs to be completed, but it'll probably be 5 Christmases time before we actually get to the end of it. We've probably lost loads of pieces by now, but
we might get there in the end.
Give it the eat me potion.
That's true. Good thinking. Good thinking. Yeah.
As long as just all the pieces didn't get tiny and you weren't there with like tweezers going.
Quantum jigsaw.
I think the dog's already eaten some of them, so he certainly sat on it. But
yes, dogs and jigsaws aren't a very good.
Not a good combo. No.
So I wonder, Felix, would you like to share something with us?
Sure. I'll try and do something a bit recent-ish. This lifetime for me. A Christmas recipe. Firstly, remove your reason with a psychic spoon. Take away all the reindeers and poultry before making a deal with God. Let him let you live longer. A Christmas story. The story of Norman, an angel from space who came to this town to discover the place where the talk of a child had reached Norman's planet, so a party was needed and Norman would plan it. First he would contact 3 local kings to help with the presents and horses and things. Then he would send a message to friends to come dressed up as shepherds and the sheep that they tend. He booked the best chefs to create the best menu and looked on the web for a suitable venue. But Norman the angel was flaky in thinking, with all of his bush burning and biblical drinking. And on this day the child was expected. He saw that his plans were not so directed. He hadn't spoken to a soul and instead realised the calls were all in his head. So in a frantically, panically typical way, he went to his shed and he laid out some hay. He made cut-out kings with crowns that were wonky and instead of a horse ended up with a donkey. And even though the party was tragic, it turned out the baby was secretly magic. The people were happy it turned out fine when they saw that the baby turned water to wine. I asked the spirit of Christmas past what the moral was, and he left. His brief visit gave me lots to think about for the new year, from the spiritually hollow white-bearded eggs on the crosses of snow that hide inside cubic baubles and present their presence with presence of senses that seep deeply from creaky trees and tinsel over pyres of mince all covered in holly, as the aunts sing the jolly but the choir breathe fire with the shallow desire of the ghosts of the hallowed for the limitless spirits will spring from the snow as the snap of the crackers extinguish the woe, the missing of friends and the lost mistletoe.
Wow.
Christmas one.
Amazing.
Rosie, would you like to show one?
Yep, I will. Hold on just a second. When you asked us to do this, and I foolishly volunteered, you then said, I need about 5 poems about Christmas, and I thought, well, I've probably got 1.5, so I thought I'd better write another one. Well, I've only got one more, but I've got some other wintry ones if we need them. And I thought, well, what's Christmas all about? And I thought, well, it's all about loads of different things, so I kind of just stuck them all together. So this is called The Meaning of Christmas. The year orbits, swoops and falls as the days get shorter, tighter. Midwinter drains the skies to grey, and twists of light are wrung out of the wreckage of the sun as solstice dawns. Next steps in Christmas with scents of candle wax, orange peel and the incense of ancient stories. An eclectic collection of decorations and celebrations, Santas and sleigh bells and chocolate angels, holly holding hands with the holy. Traditions strung out and swaying through the centuries, a carolling of mince pies and peace on earth. We offer our children a cobbled together hodgepodge of images, silver trees and Jesus, a variety of cheeses, red bows and warm glows, and tales of a long ago birth. There are precious few shepherds these days, or celestial messengers hovering above hillsides. Stars seduced the scarce wise men into hopeless journeys in search of new religions, then swerved to balance precariously on tinselled trees, the centrepiece of chilly homes. But babies born in stables, sheds and bombed-out buildings are plentiful, and barely newsworthy, as distracting glitzy adverts land on TV screens, and we all inexplicably sing ding-dong merrily on high, Hosanna in excelsis, and a chorus of everlasting glorias. Q.
I really like that, Rosie. I like how you kind of bring in the sort of news and reality to the sort of Christmas glitz. It's like the juxtaposition of the two, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Because it is, you know, at this time of year, we're kind of thinking about parties and celebrations and all the good stuff, but then in Israel itself, you know, it's a whole different story, isn't it? So I like that. It kind of brings things up to date. Thank you, and thank you, Alfie, as well. That was really fun. I love yours. I was wondering what memories people have of Christmas, like either really good Christmases or bad, because it is a time when you kind of look back as well as look forward, isn't it? So I can start if you like. I think my best memories of Christmas would have to be from when I was a child, because I absolutely 110% believed in Father Christmas and all the magic of everything. In fact, I was writing letters to Father Christmas until quite recently. And I grew up in rural Somerset, so we had goats and dogs and cats and numerous animals, and proper stables, you know. And it was just the magic of it all, really, you know. And my parents used to do this thing where they would, instead of putting the presents under the tree, they would bring them all down on Christmas morning, so there'd be nothing, and then all of a sudden you go in and it'd be like, wow. And yeah, so I think that would count as my good memories. My worst Christmas ever was lockdown, because it was just awful. Because I didn't get a chance to buy all the presents that I wanted to get, and everything was cancelled, and I've had numerous Christmases where I've been really ill as well, so they're not great either. So what about you, Saoirse?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to pick favourite Christmas memories, because I like December the 1st hits and I turn into an elf. I love Christmas.
That's the spirit.
Yeah. I absolutely adore it. And there's a running joke with a friend of mine of like watching me walk down the street once all the lights are up, as I just walk around like just loving life. But yeah, I think similarly the magic of Christmas is when I was really young. I still have such a clear memory that like the first Christmas I really remember, I can't have been more than 3 probably, because it was in the house we lived in when I was that small, and I got I think it was a little Pashley tricycle, one of the best presents I've ever gotten, and immediately cycled it into a gorse bush, as is sensible, you know. Somehow gorse still remains one of my favourite flowers, despite that early brush with it. But yeah, and I think but it's that, like you said, the magic of kind of all of it. I remember, coming down to find reindeer nibbled carrots and suspicious sooty footprints by this chimney, and and my dad always going in ahead of us to make sure Santa hadn't fallen asleep in the living room, and yeah, similarly we had one of our lockdown Christmases was similarly a little bit grim. We went down like a domino line, I believe. One of us tested positive on Christmas Day, one of us on St Stephen's Day, another one the day after. So we kind of went down like dominoes with COVID. So that was a bit of an odd Christmas. But we still made the most of it and had a belated Christmas dinner once everybody was healthy again, which again had its own magic.
What about you, Felix? Best and worst Christmases? Or you can do one of each, or
yeah, sure.
whatever you like.
When we was all really young, the best was, I suppose, when my daddy's mate would come round and they'd play Beatles songs, just go through the Beatles chord book, and we'd set up a pool table in the front room, and it was very musical and things like that. But then towards the end, especially, then they'd end up arguing loads. I remember in the flats we lived in London, all of a sudden an iron just come flying down like that. I looked up and then arguing like mad. All of a sudden my dad's metal detector, you saw it poke out the window, and my dad went, "That goes, Elaine, we're over." You just saw it creep back in. He was like, "She knew that was the line, he would have left." But he never did. He was great, my dad. So yeah, I think that's why I've got such an affiliation with the Beatles, really, because that was sort of like the good side of Christmas back then.
Sounds great.
I think music's a big part of Christmas, isn't it? Or at least it always was for me. There's certain tracks that I always get out at Christmas. Like for me, it's Michael Pretorius's Christmas music. But it's like from the 16th century, and it's really bombastic. It's great. It's like sort of heavy metal early music with big drums, and that always gets me in the Christmas mood. I don't know about others. Do you have any favourite Christmas tracks?
I don't know, friend. Yeah, I feel like it's a very eclectic mix. I don't think I have specific ones. I play some very badly on piano every year I go home at Christmas. But
Pogues one, definitely.
Oh yeah, I love
course,
that one.
yeah.
That'll be played
Yeah.
all the
So much
time
as
this
it is.
Christmas, won't it?
Yes.
This year, because it wasn't played as much last year because of the lyrics. Remember?
Yeah,
So I don't know if
yeah.
they'll just release as it was. I don't know.
Redacted version, maybe.
Yeah.
What about you, Rosie? What do you?
Yeah, I always remember the magic of Christmas stockings, and I think I realised quite early on that Santa didn't exist because I'd always lie awake, and then I realised my dad was tiptoeing in and sticking a stocking by my bed, but it was still very exciting. And when my children were young, they always did a kind of Christmas song and dance routine. You know, Larry, she'd organise the other two and make them perform certain roles, which they, were forced to carry out, but I think they enjoyed it. And the worst Christmas was probably the year that our oven broke on Christmas Day.
Oh, no.
And I remember my mum running around the neighbourhood with this uncooked turkey, seeing if somebody had space in their oven to put it in. I think we didn't get it cooked till about 9 o'clock at night or something. It was ridiculous, but
I loved it when the kids were little, all of the traditions, the leaving out the carrot.
oh yeah, yeah.
Leaving it half eaten when they wake up.
Yeah.
But the two boys were cynical so early.
Yeah.
And no, there's no way. But my daughter was,
Aw.
One time I put a tooth under her pillow and forgot.
Oh no.
And she woke up the
Bad
next morning, I fell asleep. I was like, no, she go, the tooth fairy didn't come. So I wrote a letter from the tooth fairy and put that under there. But why was said, and the boys were going, no, Dad wrote that, didn't you? Did you? You know, this fairy spoke through me.
There's something really magic about that too, isn't it? Because I remember my parents writing 80 bitty handwriting notes for the tooth fairy, like tiny, like postage stamp size letters, and things like that. Like the effort that people go to create magic for each other is there's a real magic in that, I think.
Yes, that's what
Do you reckon
magic
it's
is.
still
Isn't
about
it?
these days? That magicalness for Christmas every year, is it?
I think so.
I hope so. I hope so. I think, for little
Yeah.
kids. I hope so.
Well, it's here, isn't it? And with our ridiculous
It is.
headdresses. And,
I'm enjoying the little bell at the
It's
end
my
every
house.
so often. It kind of
It's getting a bit
announces that you're
irritating.
about to speak.
Actually, I always dress like this.
oh yeah, of course you do. Yes, you do indeed.
Actually,
It's true.
I would wear antlers all year round.
They're
even
very
on the top.
fetching, Becky.
Because I'm secretly a reindeer, but anyway.
Secretly.
I've got a poem called Reindeer.
Have you?
Do
Would
that
you
one
like to
next.
read it?
What now? Or are we
Yes.
doing the?
No,
oh,
go on,
okay.
read
Well, I
Reindeer,
might
that
have
would
to
be
just
lovely.
find it. Hang on. Wait a minute.
A baby reindeer.
It's on a
should be
piece
called
of
raindrop.
paper. A raindrop. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so this is written from the perspective of the reindeer in the Hans Andersen story, The Snow Queen. So I don't know if you know the story of the Snow Queen, you probably do, but you know, two little kids, Gerda and Kay. Kay gets kidnapped by the Snow Queen and Gerda goes off in search of him to the Snow Queen's ice palace and manages to restore him to the world. So this is from the perspective of the reindeer. I am the reindeer, thundering the hungry tundra, blundering into the thickness of the blizzard under an oblivion of white. Snowbirds hurtle, slash and scream until the blind wind bleeds my ears of sound. The Arctic sky scorches my brain. Lights flash green, extravagant, shift into violet, ambivalent, delusional, malevolent. I am steadied by the North Star as magnet to steel. My blood beats warm and timeless. My shamanic lungs surge as I lunge to leap the gap between worlds. Groundless, my hooves lift, and I soar into the starving mouth of the night. This girl child clings to my neck, thin arms around my bellowing throat, feet black with the kiss of frost. She is weary with relentless travelling, and tireless with the hope of her journey. I must bear her to the Snow Queen's ice palace, the glacial lake, the frozen mirror, broken, glittering, tricking, to find her solitary brother, silent, geometric, locked in abstraction, fragmented in the hostility of eternal winter, and melt the glass splinter in his eye, his heart, with her tears. Thank you.
Thank you. I really like the sort of fairy tale quality of that one. It makes me think a little bit about Christmas traditions as well, because I was thinking of the whole the Welsh tradition of the Mari Lwyd, and for those who aren't Welsh and don't know about it, it's very weird. It's basically, how would you describe it? You dress up a horse's skull.
A stick with a horse's skull
with
on
a
the
stick,
end,
like a
isn't
hobby
it? Yeah.
horse, with ribbons and stuff, and there's a special little song that goes with it, and it's part of the wassailing tradition. They do it every year at the Gower Heritage Centre. In fact, it's huge. They get loads and loads and loads of people. I think I saw you there last time, didn't I, Felix? I think as well.
I've been as well.
And you as well?
I've not performing, just hanging out. Yeah.
And you just get loads of people, and it's the smell of it as well that I remember, because they had fire dancers, and there's this smell of sort of squished in earth, you know, where there's all these feet pounding up the apple orchards, and smoke, and it's just beautiful. And then you've got this weird thing.
What was the original tradition? Is the Mary Lwyd goes knocking on the doors and sings a song, and you have to respond with the song, or you give them all your alcohol or something like that.
Yes.
Right, yes.
Basically, they get to
Yes.
go create carnage in your kitchen.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
basically all the best folk traditions are about begging for money and sweets, aren't they? Yeah. But yes, I think that's how it started, isn't
With a
it?
mild threat of menace as well.
Do you have anything similar in Ireland? Was there a wassail tradition? Or?
Nothing quite like the Mari Lwyd. I do have memories of wassailing, and there's the Wren tradition in Ireland, though I've never really around where I'm from. It's not really a thing. But I do have memories of like wassailing the apple trees as a child with my parents, and going around with a very small toy accordion, making it probably ungodly noise.
Because hunting the wren, that's also what used to be a Welsh. I mean, nobody actually hunts wren.
Yes,
Nobody
not.
But that's also a tradition. Isn't it?
Yeah, so that's
It's like a
one
strange
at home,
thing.
but yeah, not one that I've actually seen practiced very much anymore. Yeah, though I think there are still parts of Ireland where similar things, but again, minus the actual dead wrens.
And do you have any sort of like family traditions, things that you just do as a family that are Christmassy?
We used to always read together on Christmas Eve. We'd read either like the Nativity Story or the Clement Clarkmore poem, the Just the Night Before Christmas. We'd always kind of get together, and we always get So we'd get new pyjamas. There's always a great kind of theatricality of, oh no, what's in this present that we're opening on Christmas Eve? We definitely don't know. And it's always pyjamas. And so we'd all get into our new pyjamas and hang up stockings and read a story together.
I like that idea.
Which is quite a nice sort of, quite a nice sort of coming
Yeah.
together on Christmas Eve.
What about you, Rosie? Did you do anything special? Or
Just trying to think. I mean, I think when I was a child, my mother made us sort of ration out the presents, so we couldn't open them all in the morning. It had to be like through the day, because she was a teacher, and that kind of went with the territory. But so that was. I mean, that did kind of work. 'Cause it meant that you still had things to look forward to through the day. It wasn't like this kind of orgy of present unwrapping in the morning and then nothing for the rest of the day. So that was quite good.
what about you, Felix? Do you do anything special? Any sort of
Well, normally New Year's
stuff
Eve,
you
I'll
do that no one else does?
break a load of promises about getting healthier. So up to that, I'll just lead up to an orgy of decadence, thinking I'm about to give up. So
That's
Yes.
true tradition,
other than that, no. Some great music, I don't know.
I always think New Year is the worst time to make resolutions, isn't it? Because
It
it's
is.
cold and it's miserable and,
Yeah, you
especially
take away-
diets, it's just like, no, I need all the comfort food I can get to get through it, Do you have any resolutions of your own?
Last year I sort of resolved going forwards to make my resolutions fun and no more kind of dull self-improvement resolutions. So last year it was to learn to fire hula hoop, and I did, which was great fun.
Wow, tell me more about that. That sounds amazing.
There's not much more to tell other than you set wicks on a hula hoop on fire and get to have a lot of fun making pretty patterns. But
And you hula hooped in it. How do you not burn yourself?
well, so basically the way it's set up is if you think of a hula hoop and then the spokes kind of come out with the wicks, so the fire is actually quite far away from you. So once you're hula hooping, you're actually really quite safe because the fire is always at a kind of fixed distance from you. But yes, so that's kind of been my.
Wow.
And the previous year it was to learn to do a handstand, and so I haven't settled on mine yet, but it's going to be something of a similar ilk, something fun.
Great resolutions. I love that. I want to see you fire hula hooping. I can't say the word, but that sounds amazing.
Where do you do it, Saoirse?
So
By the waist.
Yeah.
So I go to hula hoop classes and do training with a group called the Sparklets. But the fire hooping was just done with a friend of mine who does it.
I was wondering if we could come and see you somewhere, dear.
Well, fire hooping I'm definitely not good enough to perform yet. I'm still definitely at the stage of being in the back garden going, oh my god, I'm doing it. But yes, the Sparklets though, we do perform together around festivals and Cardiff and stuff, and it's good fun.
That's brilliant. So how did you get into hula hooping?
A friend of mine runs the group, and I had recently gone freelance and found myself with more free time, and thought I'll take up a new hobby, and just thought I'd go along to get a bit fitter, learn something new, and then suddenly found myself hula hooping at Glastonbury a year later and doing mad stuff like that, which is a surprise, but in the best way.
That sounds great. Great. Yeah. No, next time you come, you'll have to do some hula hooping.
Try not to knock down any of the lights and stuff. So these two are called, these are both coming from the collection, and this one is called Recipe to Balance the Circle. You won't sit still long. A nod, a wink, a flick of the head tells you come on, you're on. Muck in and welcome aboard. You have a skill stored somewhere and it's time to share. Put on a harness, grab a rope, move some mats, pick up a mop. It's a big table, so bring us what you've got. It looks like potluck alchemy, but there's a recipe, carefully brewed to balance a circle. Let a thought simmer to start. Over gentle flames soften at the edges to soak up new flavours over time. Then rig a line, build a structure, pulleys, king poles, ropes, the stock to be the base and line the pot. Bring your ingredients together and weigh up what you've got. Add a dash of acrobatics, a spritz of flight, and season with songs and a garnish of light. Take the slack silk straps, and a shape begins to form within the tent. But this meal is meant to feed many, so to balance out this circle and dish up, fill the seats. It's a big table, and we'll share what we've got. And then I might follow it with this little one, very short little one from the end of the collection. I felt it captured a bit of the magic of Christmas and of going to see shows as a child. It's called Memories to Make. 2000 and early something, of a summer holiday afternoon, a small girl was sitting in a circus tent, her gap-toothed mouth agape. By that sawdust circle a wee girl would make a memory, as a clown in a lamppost laughed into her mind. Some 20 maybe years along, that grown-up girl would find herself back inside a circus tent again. Another show, another town, and sitting down on the other side of that sawdust circle, a wee girl watched, with gap-toothed mouth agape. Acrobatics, trapeze, skates. That little girl, she has memories to make.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Audiobook.
Thank you.
Felix, would you like to add one?
Sure, I'll just read out maybe a list of possible Christmas present ideas.
Excellent. I haven't finished my shopping yet. So.
Most of these online.
Are these all for you, Alfie?
Yeah, I've got these already.
Oh, you got them
Yeah,
already?
I'll just pass them on now to second hand. Right. Rotating teeth. Laughing backwards. A Yeti allergy. Hovering eyebrows. Whispering thighs. Sudden anger towards cushions. A levitating tongue. The overwhelming urge to wear a whipped cream beard. A sweaty aura. Craving up the cut-up squares of a chessboard with brie. Developing tear ducts all over your hands which cry hair when you're sleeping. Liquid bones. Sideburns on your heart. Purple breath. Death fatigue. Your clothes can develop a lisp around strangers. Frustrated toes. Discolouring of the voice. Ear reversal. Tinnitus in the ears. That's normal.
Yeah.
Fuck that one. Tinnitus in the knees. Septic telepathy, digital ovaries. Plasticine memories that fall out of your mouth when you talk, that form on the floor into an army of plasticine badgers that nibble harmlessly at your feet. Thought acne. In rare cases, your pupils can elongate up to half a metre out of your eyeballs like licorice antennae. And finally, neck nostrils that whistle in harmony when you inhale. And crab thumbs for the young.
Wow, that's quite a Christmas list.
I want the 9 plasticine badgers. I think that would make anyone stay better.
Rosie,
I can do, just one.
Could you do your 12 days?
Oh, that's what I've got the
'Cause I love
page
that one.
open on, the 12 days of Christmas. So this is for when we're all a bit jaded by the end of Christmas and it's all a bit of a mess, really. Okay, so 12 discarded Christmas stockings flapping in the wind. 11 empty crisp mess packets waiting to be binned. 10 muscly mince-pied minstrels, tinselled and sequined. 9 pencilled Santa stencils, paper tucked and pinned. 8 tired turkey carcasses, dismembered, stewed and skinned. 7 deadly sinners, gorged on gluttony and gin. 6 New Year's resolutions, the aim is to get slim. 5 doleful bowls of golden salmon, gutted and definned. 4 vats of greasy gravy needing to be skimmed. 3 tubs of Granny's trifle, fruit and custard, tinned. 2 tacky sumac TikToks filled with spin and cringe. And 1 ecstatic plastic angel, increasingly unhinged. There we go.
I love that. Thank you. Well, thank you all ever so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
For coming to our special Christmas edition. It's been really fun chatting to you and hearing your poetry. Thank you all for watching as well. And happy Christmas to all of you. And Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Christmas.